Hello. Hi, I'm Athena Ali, the Get Noticed coach, career coach, and job application specialist for public servants and aspiring public servants who want to land a six-figure role. Now, welcome to my live broadcast today, which is titled Public Servant Says I Can Get to the Interview, but I Can't Land the Job. Help. It's a question my clients often come to me with. So before I start today, however, I would like to do an acknowledgement to country. In the spirit of reconciliation, I acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. I pay respects to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people today. So welcome. Okay. In this weekly live, I want to look at let's look at the one thing you can change to increase your chances well before you get into an interview so you create certainty in the minds of the panel and then land the job. Okay, so if you're here live, say hi in the comments below. If you're watching the replay, if you could put hashtag replay in the comments below, that'd be great. You can also view this on my YouTube channel if you, for some reason, lose the connection here on LinkedIn, and I will put that down below if you'd like to see a replay. But if you are here, it would be really great for you to say hi, so I can see if this thing actually works. But first, I'd like to talk about, is this you? So you're always getting to an interview. So you've had a couple of interviews already. And you're always coming second best, particularly if you've acted in a role before or been seconded to a role before, and then the role becomes, it gets advertised to become permanent, and you can do it, you've been doing it, or you've done a role similar before, and you just keep getting overlooked every single time. There's always someone with more experience or didn't have quite, you didn't have something else, and you end up coming second best every time, and it's either to someone external or someone who they say has got quite a lot of experience or more experience than you, or was better in one aspect of the interview than you were. So, and in your mind, you're probably thinking, I'm good enough to babysit the department, particularly if you're in an acting role, but you're not good enough for the substantive role. Or perhaps you've been there for a long time, and so you're experienced. You've got the inside knowledge, but for some reason you just never get to that next level, and you don't know what to do or what you're doing when you're getting to that interview that's stopping them from hiring you in that role. Now, I'm going to tell you something that not everybody thinks of when it comes to the interview, okay? And it could be your resume. Now, you're probably all thinking that doesn't make sense, Athena. The resume is actually what got me to the interview. I mean, that's how they shortlist. But just because you got to the interview does not mean that your resume was good enough or you weren't articulate enough to convey that at the interview. And that is a controversial statement, that it could be your resume, particularly, if you're already known in that department or in that division and you're known to them. When you do apply for roles, often internal people will automatically get shortlisted for a role, and especially if you've acted in the role before, they'll give you that opportunity to interview for the role. So it may not have anything to do with your resume. You may already get chosen just because you were in the role before or you've done similar roles. So it's not that they're lit up and they're excited by having you come in, but more that you've been in that position before. Let's bring them in. Let's go through that merit process. Let's go through that fair process and give you a shot at the interview. So it doesn't necessarily mean you were chosen because of your resume. Okay. And it may be that they haven't looked at your document in depth either, if they've sort of shortlisted you because perhaps they know you are internal and you have got some of the skills they're looking for, but they're not necessarily sure about you yet. Now, they will bring you in for an interview for a couple of reasons, okay? The first reason they'll bring you in is if they need you to clarify any of your messages at the interview. Okay, so if you've written something that they're not quite sure about or is quite vague, but they think might be relevant, they might bring you in to clarify some of the messages in your resume. They may bring you in, secondly, to confirm any messages in your resume. So they understand what's in your resume, but they need to confirm some of the examples, and they might need you to hash out those examples in full, so that, you know, they get the information they need from you to see if you actually meet the requirements of the role and you can provide them with the outcomes that they're looking for. Or thirdly, they'll bring you in for an interview because they're super excited to meet you, because you've actually impressed them so much in your resume that they've already gotten excited that, hey, this looks like the great fit for the role. Let's bring them in and interview them. And really, it's your job to know which of these reasons they've chosen to bring you in for. Okay, so whether it's to clarify something, confirm something, or because they're really excited to meet you. Okay, now if you don't know which of these reasons it is, then before you get to the interview, you need to make sure that you've prepared for this interview like it is the only job left on earth, and it is absolutely the ideal role for you and you must have it. So you really want to be super, super prepared if you don't really know why they've brought you in. Have they brought you in just because they think you meet the requirements and let's bring you in and clarify and confirm things? Or is it because they're super excited to see you? Okay. But either way, if you don't know, you need to make sure you perform at your best level at the interview. So your energy and your responses and your behavior need to be, you know, top notch. Okay. So the problem could still actually be your resume, even though you've landed the interview. Okay. Because you need to make sure that whatever you've put on that paper, you can articulate well in the interview, and you need to be able to show them clearly that you're brilliant at what you do and the outcomes you can provide for them. And if it's not clear in your document, you then need to make it clear when you get to the interview. And if you're not doing that at the interview, then you've lost an opportunity there, because it should have been clearer in your resume, and it definitely should have been clearer at the interview, because the interview gives you the opportunity to speak about yourself. You may not be as good at writing about yourself, but you might be a lot better at talking about yourself. And if you're not doing either, you won't land the job, okay? And you need to be doing this with absolute certainty when you're at the interview, okay? You need to give them certainty that you're the right fit, because if you leave them with, and they're sort of feeling, I'm not quite sure if they're the right fit. We'll see what the other people are like. You won't land the job if they're thinking that, okay? You want their reaction to be, that is the person that we want. They're brilliant. And then if they're still interviewing others, you want to be the benchmark that others will be compared against, okay? Your resume is the basis for your interview preparation and all the techniques that you go through, as well as, I guess, your selection criteria too. So you need to get all this right before you get to the interview, so that you can excel in the interview and get them excited, so that you do land the job against everybody else. So my point here is that you need to make sure that when you do get to the interview, you can speak to your resume, and you need to know why you've been asked in for the interview. And if they're already excited, you're already halfway there, because you're at the top of the list already, okay? So are they excited or not? And as I said, if you don't know, then it might be a good idea to get some external eyes to look at your document, to give you an honest, unbiased opinion on whether, that document is clear enough for them to be excited about you already when they pick up the phone and shortlist you and ask you to come in for that interview. Okay. And if you don't know if your resume is good enough to progress, from the interview, or you've been knocked back several times and you're already, you're longing for that next role or promotion. In the coming days, I'll actually be sharing with you my next free masterclass on how to design a powerful resume or CV that gets you shortlisted for a six-figure public role and actually gets them excited before you get to that interview. Okay. If you would like access to that masterclass, or you would like to attend that masterclass, or some details around that when I release them, pop a yes down below, and I'll make sure I tag you in the post with the details in it. Alternatively, you're welcome to send me a private message and just let me know that you want to come to that masterclass. When it's ready, it should be ready to put up as an event in the next couple of days. Yeah, definitely come along. I'd love to see you and help you with that. Alternatively, if you want to book a chat with me, you can either send me a message or I'll leave a link down below for you. Now, that's the end of my live today. I hope you got a little bit of value out of that, and that it's helped you understand that sometimes it's not always your performance in the interview. Sometimes the issues arise well before you get there, and you want those issues to be fewer by the time you get to that interview. So have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next week. Bye.